So you want to vote in Center County? To be eligible to vote in any election, you must be registered in the county 15 days or more before said election. You can check your registration status at vote.pa.gov. Click on Register to Vote, then check your voter registration. You can register online to vote at vote.pa.gov. Click on Register to Vote, then select Register to Vote Online to complete and submit your registration online. Or, if you want a registration form mailed to you, click on Register to Vote, then Register to Vote. You can also download the form straight to your computer, print it out, and mail it directly. If you are voting for the first time in a polling location, you will be required to show ID. You can verify authorized types of ID at vote.pa.gov. Click on Voting in PA, then First Time Voters. Additionally, if your address changes, you must update your registration. This could change the location where you go to vote. You can update your registration online as well at vote.pa.gov. Remember, if you want to vote in Center County, you must be registered in Center County for your ballot to count.
You're watching CNET, Center County's Government and Educational Access Network.
I'd like to call to order the September 29th, 2025 regular board meeting of the State College Area School District Board of Directors. If everyone who's able could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Let's try this again. I'd like to welcome everyone joining us this evening, both in person and those viewing remotely. The board held an executive session prior to this meeting regarding student discipline, real estate, legal matter PHRC case number 20240050. Board members with an agenda before you, are there any changes? Okay. Seeing none, then I'm going to remember tonight that we have a roll call of board members.
Dr. Anderson.
Here.
Dr. Bader.
Here.
Dr. Barlow.
Here.
Ms. Brandt.
Here.
Dr. Buck.
Here.
Dr. Rappaport.
Here.
Dr. Demo.
Here.
Ms. Huff.
Here.
Dr. Miller.
Here.
Thank you. Before we start, I just wanted to note that the month of October will soon be upon us, and October is both ADHD and Dyslexia Awareness Month. Both are considered neurodivergent traits, as well as LGBTQ plus History Month, and we'll also be finishing the last half of Hispanic Heritage Month. So we're going to start off communications with a retirement accolade. Gail Richner will be retiring at the end of this school year after 32 years of service in the district. On August 31st, 1994, Gail was hired as a special education paraprofessional and instructional paraprofessional at Lamont and later Park Forest Elementary Schools. Then in July 2006, she became a secretary in the Learning Enrichment and Special Education departments and has continued in that role, currently serving as Special Education Secretary. Director of Special Education Heather Pringle commended Gail on her outstanding service to the district and her dedication to students and their families. Heather Pringle said, "I am deeply grateful for Gail's dedicated service to SCASD. Her commitment and care have left a lasting mark on the special education department, as well as the lives of countless students and families. Her dedication and impact will be remembered, and she will truly be missed." The board thanks Gail for her service and also wishes her the best in her retirement. And then we're going to have a superintendent update for Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Amy. We are excited to continue our positive behavioral partnerships with businesses around State College for the second year in a row. SCASD elementary students who are observed demonstrating star behavior while shopping, creating, or spending time at any of these businesses can continue to earn themselves a special Green Star ticket. Then they can be turned back in at their respective school for building-specific recognitions, opportunities, and prizes. We are proud to partner with Discovery Space, Growing Tree, The Makery, and Schlow Library. Additionally, Chick-fil-A has recently joined our initiatives. So thank you for the partnerships.
That's great. Thanks, Curtis. Before we begin student initiatives, I'd like to welcome Emerson Bordenstein. Is it Steen or Stein? You use both at home, okay. As the high school student council representative to the board this semester, and Olivia Shen, oh, no, we have a change.
Yeah, we do.
We do. Madison Judy is going to be filling in during the last meeting of the student council representatives. Oh, wait. I jumped ahead. Yeah, so Olivia Shen will be filling in during the last meeting from the student council representatives were elected, but tonight we'll have Madison Judy as an alternate, filling in from Delta. Welcome. And at any point in time, if you're ready to participate, feel free and raise your hand. We'll be happy to hear from you. So if you want to share our student initiatives, we're all set. Go for it.
Okay. Hi. Thank you for the welcome. I want to say a quick congratulations to the 2025 State High Homecoming King, Max Hernkane, and the Queen, Kenna Whitehurst. They were crowned last Friday as part of a wonderful week of homecoming festivities. State High ninth grader, excuse me if I mess this up, Soonjun Choi earned a perfect score and was tied for first in the state in 2024 to the 2025 Math League Championship contest. He did this last year when he was an 8th grader at Park Forest Middle School. This was the second year in a row that he achieved a perfect score in the event, which was sponsored by the Pennsylvania Mathematics League. Congratulations.
That's impressive. Thanks very much. Next up, we're going to have our legislative update. Jackie, do you have any legislative matters to share?
We still have no state budget. That is the update. This is really starting to impact a lot of school districts around the state who are having to take out lines of credit to continue operating. Again, we are very lucky to be a school district where we don't have to do this, but it is still nonetheless limiting our ability to maneuver our funds in ways that are going to help students to the maximum potential. So hopefully we will get this done in the state fairly soon. On the PSBA front, I did want to let you guys know that we heard back from the platform committee for the PSBA legislative platform, and that our language, weird technicality, but they actually adopted the language that we proposed last year around sorry.
Was scoring?
Yes, so like the language was basically proposing that we not use AI or algorithmic scoring for statewide tests. So that is again going to be offered to the delegate council for consideration and addition to the platform committee for the coming year.
Did you want to add the impact also on CU10 or CU central intermediate units about the budget?
So my colleague here, Ann, we both sit on the CIU 10 board, and we just wanted to say that, like, for instance, our intermediate unit is hitting their limits in terms of how making payroll with the liquid assets that we have. So it's going to come November, the IU will be having to take lines of credit if we're going to continue operating. So
We're feeling the impact.
right, we're okay here at the school district. Want to reiterate that. Regionally, we do have friends and neighbors and IUs that are definitely losing sleep. At least I am. Mm-hmm. So over these operating budgets. So
Thanks very much. I want to add something. It's not strictly 100% legislative, but last week the President and Secretary for Health and Human Services held a press conference regarding autism. I don't raise this issue to get into the science discussed at the event, although personally as a trained medical clinician, I strongly recommend people take guidance directly from their physician or those with those who have done decades of work in these fields, like the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists or the American Academy of Pediatrics. These comments are mine and mine alone. I'm not speaking on behalf of the board, so I just want to make that clear. But I feel compelled to make this comment. While I'm not a directly part of the autistic community, and nor can I speak for their behalf, I want to comment on the tone and characterization of the lives of autistic people and their families as one of suffering or tragedy. By no means am I downplaying the impact of significant challenges for children and families dealing with severe disabilities. In these situations, children's support needs can be an all-encompassing for a family. But the comments made recently can be incredibly painful for people on the spectrum and families of children who have autism. Many autistic people are quite happy with who they are and their unique traits that they possess. Their neurodivergence can be elemental to their identity. And communities are richer for them, having them in their communities and their contributions. They are not merely a burden to be fixed, but human beings with full lives and people who love them. Because of that, I want to acknowledge that there are likely many parents and families in our community frustrated and hurt by the portrayal of autism last week. I bring this up because it's important to point out that families of autistic students rely on public schools for support. Because in this nation, we have Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, best known as IDEA. All students with disabilities have a right to a free and appropriate public education that is individualized to their needs. If our society and our government feel that autism rates merit serious attention, then all aspects of the disorder need to be addressed. This means providing appropriate funding for IDEA and public schools so that our autistic students can receive the intensive services that they need that are often particularly critical during their early years of school. It means funding for occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech therapy, and other interventions. Funding so that districts can readily provide one-on-one paraprofessional aids for students that require them to succeed and thrive. Funding for teacher training and adequate special education staffing. Funding for special transportation needs. Funding for appropriate facilities such as sensory rooms, and so much more. As school directors, we're taught that our district's budget should reflect our priorities. If autism is a priority, then our government's budget should demonstrate that in all realms, not just research, but in true health, in active healthcare, education, and social services. And that's what I have to say about that. We're going to move on to Center County.
I was just going to say.
Oh, sure.
Sorry, second.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
I would say, I was about to say the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks. I appreciate the support. I have a lot of empathy for the families in our community over this matter. I'm not boasting for myself. I just mean over this matter. Yeah. So we can move on to Center Region Council of Governments Liaison Report. Gretchen or Peter, do you have anything to, or I think Jesse went this latest one.
Jesse does.
I did.
Anything exciting of import for us?
Because Gretchen found out how much I love COG meetings. It was just, anyway. So here's what happened. There were kind of more discussions of the two EV trucks, but not as lively as there was last month. And they announced that last Wednesday, they finally had the grand opening for Whitehall Road Regional Park. And I know how far back that goes because I remember Ron Filippelli telling me that he chaired COG when it first was being considered, and that was in 2011, just to give you a bit of perspective. The COG budget had a 4% increase, which is kind of a miracle for COG. We used to see their increases being pretty substantial. The other thing that was announced is something that is going to happen right here on October 8th, which is the first meeting of the Center County Solar Group on October 8th at 8:30, right here. That's mostly the summary of the important things at that meeting.
Great, thanks very much, Jesse. Our next item on the agenda is public comment. We now have time for public comment. Each individual will be allotted up to 3 minutes for items related to board business that are not a consent or action item this evening. For those items, public comment will be held just prior to voting on that item. I believe we have some advanced signups tonight. Jen Black, and I think she's participating online. So Jen, if you want to start us off, if you could share your name and where you reside in the district, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Jennifer Black, Half Moon Township. I just wanted to share, excuse me, I am excited that this week the interviews with Dr. Susan Swearer for the looking at the bullying review are happening. I was a little bit disappointed that the parents and teachers and students were only given 4 days in which to sign up for these interviews, and that occurred over homecoming weekend, which unfortunately a lot of people missed the signups. I did talk with Stephanie Beaver, and I talked with someone else today who had just talked to Stephanie Beaver, and there were still some slots available to sign up. So if anyone is interested in sharing their thoughts on bullying prevention in the district, I would contact Stephanie Beaver to see if there are still any available slots. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have anyone here in person this evening to make a public comment? Okay, if you want to come up to the podium and share your name and where you reside in the district, please, and then you'll have 3 minutes.
My name is Dick Anderson. I'm a longtime resident of State College Area School District of 46 years, and my children, grandchildren attended schools in the district, and there's a couple still attending. I want to start by just thanking the board for their dedication, for their time that they put into the school district. I think it's really important, and I really appreciate you folks. And I hope I do not offend any of you, but I got to speak my mind on a particular issue. And it has to do with Yom Kippur and what has happened with the restriction put on athletes. I have a great deal of respect for the Jewish people, and as a result, I tried to touch base with as many of the Jewish community as I could. Some of them influential, very important people in our community, most of whom I think you know. I did not get one person to support your position, not one. And I'm very sad to say that. Then there's an issue of Pandora's box. There's so many religious holidays. What have you done? You opened up the box, another one, a second one, a third one, maybe we extend the school year. I find it hypocritical that you ask the teachers to come in on Thursday for an in-service day, but yet you restrict the athletes and say you can't compete, you can't practice, you can't prepare. You preach inclusion, but yet you excluded the whole athletic department in a decision that mostly affected them. I think it shows a lack of respect and unity within the district. Equity. I'm really not sure what equity is anymore, but I do know equality, and I do know fairness. You put us at a disadvantage in the Mid-Penn Conference because no one else does this. So I'm really disappointed with that, especially in view of our competition. I wonder if you would cancel an academic review the day before the SATs. I wonder. Athletic sophistication can be very sophisticated. Football is the king of them all right? There's so many people to coordinate, so many different teams within a team to coordinate. 11 on offense, 11 on defense. all their backups, 5 different groups of special teams and all their backups, their assignments, the special relationships, angles, spatial relationships.
Thank you, Mr.
Changes
Anderson.
at the line of scrimmage. Really important, all right?
Okay.
And you're taking a day away from them. And they're going to try to do it all on Friday before they play a game. Just not fair, folks, just not fair.
Okay.
I think
That's
your
your 3
decision
minutes,
is
Mr.
short-sighted.
Anderson.
I think you violated your own principles.
Thank you.
And I hope you'll reconsider your decision. Thank you.
Is there anyone, let's check online. Is there anyone else who's participating online that would like to make a public comment? All right. Anyone else here in person in the audience for a public comment? Okay. Then we're going to move on to our consent agenda. This includes several items that we will address in a single motion for approval. To facilitate any questions or discussions, we'll go through each category individually. Board members, if you have any clarifications, please let me know. Any corrections to the minutes? Okay. Next up, we have operations, highlighting some professional development with Happy Valley Improv. That looks a lot of fun and exciting. Some yearbook approvals, some consulting for our English as a second language department, along with human resources and routine approvals for facilities and tech. Any questions or clarifications needed in these? We're also going to buy some copier paper. Okay. Then the last category is instructional programs. We're going to include it as some STEM inventor kits as well as student travel. Okay. Then I'd like to call for a motion to approve consent agenda items 6 through 8 as presented.
Buck, so moved.
Huff second.
Okay, that's been moved and seconded. Any additional questions or discussion? Last call for the consent agenda. Okay. Do we have any public comment on the consent agenda? Okay, then board members voting in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the consent agenda is passed. We're going to move on to action items this evening. Agenda item 9A is a motion to approve a 2025-2026 MOU with Penn State for Masters of Social Work graduate student intern. This is shown in attachment 9A.
Miller, so moved.
Trevor, second.
Okay, that's been moved and seconded. Thank you. Any questions or discussion on this particular item?
I have a question. Well,
Yeah.
just number one, I'm excited to see this because it actually comes out of my department.
I saw that.
I did want to just make a clarification because I see on the MOU it mentions the Office of Human Development and Family Studies was actually, it's a department within the university as opposed to an office. So if we can.
Sure.
But otherwise, yeah, this is, it's been a program that we've been kind of building for a long time. So my hope is that this is the first of many potential interns to be part of SCASD over the years. It's the first foray into social work for us.
Yeah, it's the online program.
World Campus. Yep.
Yeah, World Campus. All right. Any other questions or discussion?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm not sure. You look perplexed.
I'm going to say something that is pretty uncomfortable, but I actually think Mr. Miller should probably recuse himself from this vote, at least for an appearance, because if it impacts your department in health and human development, it could be seen by members of the public as you voting for something that in some very labyrinthine way could come back to benefit you vis-a-vis the university, and I would not want that perception to be there.
There?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So you have to mark me as.
I can certainly appreciate what Peter has said. From a technical standpoint, certainly with the use of the word labyrinth, we would understand that that's taking him a couple layers away from anything that would require him to recuse himself. But I think Peter's comment certainly is well placed. And if Aaron were inclined to recuse himself, I think that would be a good idea in this case.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is, yes. Yeah, I'm willing to recuse, that's
Yeah.
fine.
So we can will you mark you as abstained? So that's our,
So would we need the
Formal term.
motion to be
no, that's just his vote would be abstention.
Got it.
Yep.
Thank you.
That's my, yeah, I'm pretty sure about that one.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Great.
All right. I think I called for, you were, any other questions? Okay. Do we have any public comment on this? What, oh, sorry, Deb. Go ahead.
I was debating on, I mean, because it's come forward to us, I assume the answer to this is yes. But as far as who's going to supervise, I'm assuming it's our district social workers. And do they have time in their very busy schedules to provide the level of supervision that's needed? But again, I'm assuming the answer is yes, since it's come forward to us. So that's why I wasn't sure if I should even ask.
Yes.
Oh, it's that guy.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Usually they get permission before we get their agreement.
Great. Thanks.
Yeah. And I would imagine in some ways an extra set of hands and eyes and things might actually be quite helpful. Okay. Do we have any public comment on this item? No. All right. Board members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Aye.
There we go. All right. That item is passed. Agenda item 9B is a motion to approve 90% submission of Park Forest Middle School project design. This is shown in attachment 9B. Yeah, do it. Bells and whistles. Woo.
Huff so moved.
Miller, second?
All right, that's been moved and seconded. And for the community, we had a community forum last Thursday, I believe it was, where a lot of this information was presented. There was opportunity for feedback, and we talked more about the project. And also, we were presented these items last board meeting. Are there any questions or discussion? So as I mentioned, we've covered it quite a bit. Other than excitement?
I was going to say I probably won't abstain from this one.
Okay, yeah, I think we all want to vote on this one, very much so. We're pretty eager to have this happen. Were either of you Park Forest members? No? All right. Well, do we have any public comment on this item? Okay. Board members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Woo-woo, that item's passed. We're pretty excited about it. We're going to move on to agenda item 9C, and this is a motion to approve a gift acknowledgement letter for the high school North Gymnasium scoreboard, as shown in attachment 9C. Do I have a motion?
Buck so moved.
Second.
Okay, Dr. Barlow seconded. Do we have questions or discussion? Randy, is there anything you wanted to add to this, about this?
Just that at the next board meeting will be the request to purchase the scoreboard.
Yes. And also our appreciation to the donor. Certainly we are expressing Mr. Beans. Yeah. Okay, if no questions or discussion, any public comment for this item? No. All right, board members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that item is passed. Agenda item 9D is a motion to approve a gift acknowledgement letter for the high school North wait,
No, Mount Nittany. Mount Nittany.
sorry.
Auditorium lighting.
The auditorium lighting, yeah, sorry. It read so similarly, I was starting to think I was being redundant, apologies. Yeah, a gift and acknowledgement letter for the Mount Nittany Middle School auditorium. No, see, okay, my script is off. So, apologies. So the motion for 9D is going to be to approve Mount Nittany Middle School auditorium lighting upgrades change order,
Huff so moved.
as shown in attachment 9D. Thank you. Yeah.
Kevika second.
All right, that's been moved and seconded. Apologies for the mix-up. So do we have any questions on this item?
Thank you. This is a great change order. We're saving money.
We do. We always love when it's a deduct change order. It's fabulous. Okay. Any public comment on this item? No. All right. Board members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. That's passed. We're happy to accept it. Agenda item 9E is a motion to approve a sewer extension agreement with the University Area Joint Authority for the Park Forest Middle School project, shown in attachment 9E.
Miller, so moved.
Buck, second.
Okay, that's been moved and seconded. Questions or discussion? Basically, it's pretty routine when we build a project. We've got to be able to pump out our sewage, so.
And if we knew that we weren't going to use, what we were going to do with the current,
Are you on?
I
Okay.
am. If we knew what we were going to do with the current building, we may be able to avoid this. However, we'll need to keep that building going while the new one is being built anyways.
Yep, that
So-
makes sense.
And just in case anyone asked.
No, that's a good clarification. Any other questions? Okay, do we have any public comment on this item? No. All right, board members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we'll give another little woot for the Park Forest Middle School project. Agenda item 9F is a motion to approve STEAM Link and Educational Communication Services with Conrad Siegel. This is shown in attachment 9F.
Have so moved.
Anderson, second.
So that's been moved and seconded. Is there anything you wanted to
I'll just
explain or
ex-
describe there?
Yeah, Michelle and I can just explain real quickly, and we can answer any questions. That there was another firm that we had worked with to get a bid, but because it's a service, the public bids weren't required. And we've been with Conrad Siegel since before I came to the district over 20 years ago. This is just an extension of the services that we have with them. And we are very excited about this opportunity to collect this information and provide it to our insurance providers electronically and have that additional database management. It won't be, that way it will not be manual intervention in the HR office.
Yeah, so save some people hours and hopefully remove any error likelihoods, which will be a positive. Any questions from the board? Peter, you look confused.
Oh, no, that's just my face.
Okay. All right, if no questions, do we have any public comment on this item?
No.
Okay, board members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that item's passed as well. Wrapping up our action items, we have agenda item 9G is a motion to approve the expansion of the high school north wrestling room as shown in attachment 9G.
Buck, so moved.
Anderson, second.
Okay, that's been moved and seconded. This is anticipated to be funded by a donor.
Correct. We have a commitment from a donor, and at the next board meeting, there will be an opportunity for the board to accept that commitment.
Yeah, and I think when we talked about this before, we mentioned that there's a storage opportunity elsewhere, so we're not losing necessary storage. Any questions or discussion from board members? Okay, any public comment on this item? No. All right, board members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that item is passed as well. We're going to move on to information reports. Starting off, we're going to do, Jonathan Bucher, Jen Rand, and Laura Tobias are going to join us to provide an update on advanced placement test results. Welcome.
That's pretty good. Okay, if I plug in.
All right, good evening. So with us this evening, I have Jen Rand, our Advanced Placement Coordinator, as well as Mrs. Tobias, our high school principal. I'm not going to spend a lot of time. They have a lot of great things to share. There's a lot of great things happening in the building level, so I'd like to turn it to them and let them share the phenomenal, what we see as phenomenal news that we'd like to share with the board.
Hi, good evening. Thank you so much for having us. I know Laura and I are both really grateful for all the support that you have given for our students over the last several years in terms of the First Test Free initiative. And it's pretty exciting to be here to share what we both see, and Dr. Bucher as well, as a real success in moving forward with that particular initiative.
Yes, we We can't thank you enough. I also can't thank, I think we have to give some recognition to all of our AP teachers.
Seriously.
To all our students who are taking a leap and challenging themselves to participate. We're encouraging more and more students. You can do this. And so I think that culture exists. And I can't thank our teachers and our students enough for participating in this process.
Yeah, there's no question that these scores do reflect not only a tremendous amount of dedication on the part of our students, who are amazing, but also on the part of our teachers, who have really put in a lot of time and effort to ensure that these scores really reflect the learning that the students would ideally like to achieve. So in reference to the numbers that we've shared with the board, I think there's one piece of data that I didn't actually include that I'd like to add a little bit of illustration in terms of the number of tests that have been taken, because 2021 does reflect a post-COVID year, and I've had some questions from some people, what were the numbers like prior to COVID? So I did pull those this afternoon, and in 2018, we administered 1,032 tests, and in 2019, we administered 1,146. So that does show that the COVID dip is real, but since then we have rebounded and then some. And 2023 was the first year that we had the first test-free initiative, and that started, you may remember, in the middle of the year. So we didn't have that initiative rolled out at the outset of students registering for tests. And in the course registration process was fully captured, I think, in 2024 and 2025. And you can see that not only are substantially more of our students taking tests, but substantially more of our students are proving to be successful on those tests. That 92+% of our students who are taking tests scored a 3 or higher is pretty commendable. Another number that I'd like to point out to you is on the next slide, that in 2025, we can now see that 46.4% of our graduating class, this is measured by the seniors who graduated last year, have taken a AP exam and scored a 3 or higher. So those are unique numbers that reflect a higher number of our students taking these tests than ever. I wonder if anybody has any questions about those two pieces of information.
Jen, don't we have some ninth graders taking APs now that we offer AP
Absolutely.
Human Geo?
Yeah, we have a very high number of ninth graders taking APs. In fact, we have, last year, I want to say that there was in the neighborhood of 300 ninth graders who took AP tests.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I was just, in the chart, I didn't see them, so I just wanted to point that out for the community, that we have a AP all opportunities in all 4 grades.
Yes, we definitely do have APs in all 4 grades, and that chart was actually made by College Board. I think because it's not non-standard for ninth graders to take APs, but it's not calculated in their numbers.
I didn't mean to slam or anything. I thought it was. I was like, where are?
Yeah, Dr. Previsar.
Do you also think that the increase in the students taking APs because of the teachers' encouragement, more so than previous years?
I think that's a really good question, and we have been actively seeking to encourage our teachers to recommend more students toward taking AP classes. So whether or not they're encouraging their students to take the test at a higher level, I cannot say, but I think that the numbers bear out that we have more students in AP classes than we have before, which that's really, ideally, the test is good, but we really want them to have those classes.
Great, thank you.
So the next 3 slides were based on Mr. Johnson's request that we include some information about what our demographic breakdown looks like for AP exams. And in this first slide, AP tests by demographic, you can see that there is a breakdown that shows that the smallest number of our students who are taking AP exams by demographic are Black and brown students. And I have looked nationally. This is pretty consistent with what we see across the country, but it's also raising some questions for all of us. Dr. Bucher and I talked about this extensively a few days ago, and it's something that we would like to see addressed as our next point moving forward. We've done a lot at the high school to attempt to alleviate this issue. We've had outreach with our families. We've had outreach specifically with students. We've worked to provide mentors between students to try to encourage them to take more AP classes. And those initiatives have not been as successful or netted the results that we hoped that they would. So Dr. Bucher and I have spoken about some other possible options in terms of the potential to have a local exam at the middle school level that would perhaps provide a catch point to encourage our teachers to recommend students or provide another data point that would help them encourage our students of color or our populations into taking that AP Human Geography class in particular that we know is such a great introductory course. So that's a conversation that I think will be ongoing. The good news is if you look at the next two slides, the students who are taking the AP exams across all demographic groups are doing an extremely good job. For those of you who are scientists, which I am not, I had somebody help me out by creating the last slide because she didn't like the fact that I used the mean data. She thought that I needed more standard deviation in there. So that's what that last slide is.
How many students passed, say, two or more of these exams?
I don't have that number in front of me, but I can say there's a very high number, and that's a really good question.
Yeah, I mean, I did honors advising at Penn State for just about 40 years, and I was always amazed at these students who had basically tested out of their first year of college, and I'm just wondering how many of those folks we might have.
A large number. We have, I believe, 179 AP scholars this year, which means students who've taken at a minimum 3 or more exams and scored a 3 or higher on those exams. And so we do have a large number of our students who are doing that, but I can certainly get you that number if you'd be interested.
Well, it's interesting how this has progressed. I mean, when I was going to high school, somebody taking this was kind of a rarity, and they had to do it on their own. And it's nice that we're getting these kinds of results, and it will.
And we're getting these kinds of results too with students taking so many AP classes. These kids have a really high load, and that they're doing this kind of work is very impressive. And we have teachers in the spring who are offering prep for their students with some degree of consistency and a very high turnout among their students. So I know that our kids do tend to be very well prepared.
Yes, I just want to say thank you, Jen, for doing all your work. I know you're orchestrating all this behind the scenes, and the teachers are doing a great job encouraging these students to take these tests. So
we're a good team.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for all your support. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So next up, we're going to have the curriculum team to join us to provide an update on new courses for the 2026-2027 school year.
Good evening.
Hi, Chris.
Great news for the AP courses, and we're about to expand that by 5. So we're recommending 9 new courses for next school year. And 6 of those are weighted courses, and 4 of them are unweighted courses. The scope and sequence for each one of those is attached to the memo. Some of the courses are proposed in response to the IB program ending, and some courses we felt we wanted to continue to offer in a different way. Others are just due to a need and a new AP offering. So the course titles that we're recommending for next school year are Advanced Cinema Arts, Advanced English 11, AP Environmental Science, AP Macroeconomics and AP Microeconomics, World Religions, Cooking for Life, AP Business Management, Engineering and Design Fabrication, and AP Computer Networking and Cybersecurity, which is a new course the AP is adding next school year, a test for. So you can take a look at the course outlines, and we're pretty excited to offer them. It's unusual we would bring 9 courses to you outside of the curriculum review cycle, but again, because of AP ending, we really felt like we needed to look at our total offerings and make sure we had enough good alternatives for that.
Do you mean IB ending, not IB?
I said IB. Did I say AP?
I thought, yeah.
IB, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So those are the courses that we'll be recommending. And at the next school board, we'll be recommending action on them. Do you have any questions on any of them?
Yeah, Jesse?
Well, it seems like just about half of these were the basically refashioned IB courses. Were there any IB courses that you just decided to discontinue entirely?
There were some, yes.
About how many?
I don't have the total catalog in front of me. The math courses, for example, we did not choose to continue to offer the IB math in the way it was offered. There were IB World Religions. We switched to World Religions, not Advanced World Religions, and took it to a semester course. So we worked with each department to look at the total offering and what they had, and what we felt was, if we felt there was a gap or a need, that's where we moved.
So, for instance, I don't see a lot of these courses in the sciences, for instance. So
Yeah.
was there a lot of, is that where most of the overlap was?
So there were very low enrollment for some IB courses, which tells us that the students weren't signing up for them. So we didn't propose a course that had very low enrollment, like IB Physics is one. There are only maybe 3 or 4 students who ask for that course.
But we have an AP Physics.
We have an AP Physics, yes.
Yeah, a lot
And-
of those courses were co-seated.
Yeah.
And being said, I have an interest there. I've looked at the science offerings, and we have quite a number of
We do.
electives. We have some that are only offered every other year. Like we have marine science, we have genomics, we have, molecular.
We have an extensive
Yes.
science program. And so we did not feel that there were any science courses offered through IB that we could not, that we had a hole for. So.
Yeah, Madison.
I was wondering why the IB World Religions, which was a weighted course, is being replaced with just regular World Religions, which is unweighted.
Good question. So last year we offered AP African American Studies, a year-long course, and we're also looking to add AP Economics. And not all students who would be in the IB program necessarily would want an advanced option, and we felt like offering a non-advanced option opens it up to more students. And if it's a semester, it can go with a lot of the other semester offerings that are offered in social studies. So we thought it was a good complement to those.
Yeah, Aaron?
So I just had a couple questions. You had mentioned the decision not to continue the IB math curriculum. I guess I just wondered, are there other options? Are there other pathways and alternatives, like in math, that students can take rather than just kind of the traditional course of math? Because I only ask this because having sat in on an IB math course, it was very different, but the students were very engaged. It's not to say they're not engaged in the other math courses, but I just wonder if maybe there is an opportunity to either bring it back in the future or just offer an alternative. I don't know if our student reps have a thought on that, but.
So again, when we look at enrollment and what students have signed up for, we didn't find that there seemed to be a need there right now. We are involved in math curriculum review, so we are overhauling our whole entire math scope and sequence, K-12.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying there won't be changes that come with that entire recommendation, but it would be based on, again, the entirety of that, the course offerings in math.
Okay. The only other question I have is, are there any of these courses you're recommending that you feel you would be unable to staff without hiring somebody, or are these all created like with the teachers and you have people in mind who could teach each of them?
We would be able to offer these with no additional staffing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, Peter?
So AP Environmental Science. So does that already have a text or an associated material for it?
Yeah, every AP course comes with a framework that we borrow from when we look at like what they recommend the topics that we cover in that course. And they usually have a list of recommended texts that we can use as well.
Do you have those yet?
I didn't buy any textbooks yet. No.
I don't mean like, did you
select?
Yeah.
We have not gone through the selection process because the course is not approved yet.
Okay, got it.
And they will come to us.
Right, then.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So I would really encourage, everyone, all of you in the selection, to really think about the integration of a number of global risks that we have. Earlier this evening, Ms. Huff raised artificial intelligence for the state platform. And, many of us as educators are thinking about artificial intelligence in terms of manipulating children, which is obviously very important, cheating, the number of fakes that are happening, deep fakes. Behind that curtain is an incredibly energy-intensive project. Artificial intelligence and data centers are slated to become the largest transformation on the grid in the world since the electrification of the United States.
Yes.
And that is driving up demand in electricity. That demand in electricity, the way that the grid works currently, can drive pollution or not. It drives different land use decisions compared to others, water decisions. And so whatever that text will be, really, really ought to include artificial intelligence and associated infrastructure. And if it doesn't, you shouldn't use it.
So I want to just say that we don't consider the textbook to be a sole source of information in any course that we teach.
Yeah.
So I applaud what you've just said. And I think that I can reassure you that we don't use just one textbook or one text as an authority for any of the courses that we teach. So if any of the recommended textbooks don't have something like that in it, it can and probably will be supplemented by the teacher with the most current information. The problem with textbooks is they're published with a certain date.
Yes.
And in 6 months, that figure of energy use by AI is going to triple. It's just going to keep going up and up. So I think we need to look at the most accurate and current sources, not just a textbook and the publication date. But I agree with you.
So,
yes. I'm agreeing with you.
So a textbook I intend to mean as shorthand for curricular resources.
Yeah.
And when
Yeah.
you look at Unit 9 Global Change, and we go down into 7.C, D, and E, those are all really looking at current issues.
Yep.
I think the other thing, I know that our district in a number of ways is so good about Living Lab. We have 3 LEED Platinum buildings. We have a number of facilities that are really adaptable and usable in this way. And I'm not telling you necessarily anything that you don't know, but I think that encouragement from the board and by our community so that we have our students engaging with our built environment and all kinds of infrastructure is super important, because we want kids to have, I know that we're going to be in a heated agreement here. I just really think that our public needs to know that we want to support that maximally impactful, engaged experiential learning.
Yeah.
Yep, for sure. I have an easy question.
Yeah.
So the Cooking for Life class, I think that's great. I know competition for senior foods is astronomical. The thing I was just confused about is, will it be different than senior foods? And will kids be able to take that? And then if they still want to take senior foods, assuming that they can get it in their schedule?
They can. Is Ben Warden on?
Yep, I'm here.
You wanna take that one, Ben?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, we're just trying to do what we think's best for our students. We're trying to maximize opportunities. We hear very often that ninth graders are having a difficult time getting electives. And we're just really trying to look at the problem and come up with solutions. So yeah, this would be, cooking is something we can always, continue and improve on. So yeah, they could take them both. And I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure they're going to have a different experience if they
won't.
take
It's
both.
a similar curriculum. I mean, they're learning to prepare food.
Yep.
But it will be, it won't be the same recipes.
Yeah, that's great. And I actually think this is a really excellent plan. I mean, first of all, we invested in the infrastructure of that space. And second of all, we found that there's so much interest in the culinary program. And I know a lot of kids have not been able to participate in some years. And this may fulfill some of their desires adequately. And that might help that balance between those. So I think that's a really great option to add. And I agree too on the ninth grade, having had one child that was brutal for picking electives, this would have been great to have earlier in his career.
This is just almost like a silly thing to follow up on that. But I took senior foods in 12th grade at State High with Mrs. Stanton, and she was awesome. So I just want to give a shout out to my former teacher. This was great.
It's still awesome.
93, 94.
Yeah.
All right. So if there aren't any other questions or comments from our students, then we'll expect to see these back and to vote on and approve. And then eventually, as Chris alluded, if there's textbooks or other resources that we need to approve, those will come later. Okay. Thanks very much, Chris. Our second to last information item is a potential pilot program utilizing Gaggle's student safety platform in 9th and 10th grade classrooms. Justin Hedrick's going to join us with Jonathan Bucher and Stephanie Beaver to provide an overview. Hey.
Lead the way. Yeah, lead the way.
All right, so we wanted to share with you the memo that we had prepared. We shared with the board regarding the upgrades to our monitoring of internal use of our devices within the district for our students. This information was a direct result from Dr. Erbacher's recommendation that she put forth regarding increasing the level of service that we have to ensure that we try to find ways to intervene for students that may be at risk. So that was the memo was brought forth, and the services that we'd like to try as a sample with our 9th and 10th grade students at both State High and Delta.
Anything else you want to add, Justin?
Not from the memo. I know there's a lot of questions, so I figure we
Okay.
can run through those.
Fair enough. So we can, Jackie, you want to kick us off?
Yeah, so could you just give a summary of how do we monitor now and how would that change under Gaggle?
Currently, sure.
Yeah.
So currently, the district under federal law, COPA, SIPA, there's a lot of requirements that as far as what we're required to do related to student safety. So we actually already have or have had historically in the past tools that do these things where they do keyword monitoring or internet filtering, document detection, things like that. So the current version of that solution is Securely, which I know a lot of our families and our students are familiar with. Historically, that had also been GoGuardian. The key difference between those solutions and what we're looking at with Gaggle is there is a human component to that monitoring where the alert is not just based off of a keyword flag or a predictive text or something in the chat, it actually gets reviewed by a person to evaluate if that alert is a valid concern, and then at that point it's escalated to the district for review. One of the main reasons that we wanted to evaluate Gaggle over our current solution is we have a fair amount of those components with Securely, but we're averaging probably, I would say, anywhere from 7,000 to 10,000 alerts in a month, because we have a lot of even courses at the high school for mental health that would trigger those keyword searches, and that inundates the system and really makes the data points unusable. So we wanted to make sure we considered that whenever we were trying to meet the recommendation.
Not to interrupt, but just can you clarify but Securely right now, we're only using their services for web scanning? Is that correct? So we're not using them for the student's account, which is what you're proposing that Gaggle would do. So we would need to maintain both, because what Securely is doing is part of the requirements from the federal government.
That's
You gave
correct.
us this information already.
That's correct. Securely does currently do web filtering. With the web filtering, you do get some basic account monitoring, which is where you're seeing those general alerts and informational items we're receiving. But it does not, we do not currently utilize their more advanced product called Securely Aware, which does some of those automated evaluations, but theirs are heavily focused on artificial intelligence as far as identifying those concerns rather than having a human component.
Okay. I'm done interrupting here, but Jackie, do you have more that you want to ask?
All right, so and at the risk of getting in the weeds, does Gaggle utilize something beyond keyword searches to monitor students' written production?
Sure.
Emails, documents, messages, whatever.
Sure. Obviously, exactly what they use is proprietary, so I don't have a full scope, but from my understanding in conversations with them as well as evaluating, it's mostly cemented in the keyword search, but then it's also doing some context analysis. So it's looking at, is this search related to a course or coursework? Are they writing a paper as they're using this keyword inside of a document? Is it essentially what is the context of this, the information that we're evaluating? And then from there, it either flags the content or it does not, and then it's reviewed by one of their support staff. Yes.
All right, and so.
I know, mine got loud too.
So it's doing something to determine the context of the language being used before, which is more than what Securely is just doing keywords and pinging us with all the flags.
Correct.
Gaggle will use the keywords, but then in addition do some contextual analysis in terms of how the word is being used, and then have Gaggle employees review it, and they will then pass on cases that need addressing to the district itself.
Correct.
Okay. What is subject to this monitoring on Securely versus Gaggle?
Sure. So currently with Securely, we do just straight internet filtering with the basic level of account monitoring within Securely. With Gaggle, it would monitor email, chat, and Google documents, but it would not currently monitor internet filtering. They will not do that as part of a trial just because of the sheer volume and the intensity to set that up. That is something that a district can choose to use or not use, depending on their own unique situation. So that's part of, as we're doing this evaluation, we're trying to see, does Gaggle have as many alerts as we get with Securely, or does it not? And if it doesn't, then do we want to evaluate, potentially long-term evaluate that with the filtering keywords as well for the internet filter? Yes.
So you mentioned it would be email documents. I thought we have chat disabled. I mean, no, or we do use it in some
For
places?
sixth grade.
just for sixth grade?
This currently, yes, we're piloting to see how that actually goes in the middle level.
Okay, so we've had it closed off and now we're testing possibly, I'm confused.
Chat is not disabled.
Oh, okay.
It was several years ago, and then with COVID, a lot of those online tools required us to re-enable that. And we've actually seen where like some classes will use it in a collaborative environment. So there's some educational use of it, but we're evaluating.
Okay, I knew there were some problems and that's
Yeah.
why,
So it was a
but I
long
guess
time, yeah.
that the follow-up question I have is, what is the impact? Because this is, you mentioned Gaggle would apply to our Google stuff, for lack of a better word, and Microsoft Office. But as we're moving to Schoology, how does that impact their ability to do what they do? Or our costs? Is there extra add-ons that we would have to do when we eventually potentially move fully to Schoology?
No, there would not be an additional cost with this Schoology. So, regardless whether we're talking Gaggle, GoGuardian, or Securely, what those software platforms are looking at are your account as a district. So, whether we're Google or we're a Microsoft district, as other districts are, they're looking at your district email address and what emails you're writing. So are you writing concerning emails to family or friends, or in your chat, are you being bullied or having conversations with other students that are causing emotional distress? So they're looking at those things and those keywords and flagging them. And then within your documents in Google, they're looking at what kind of content is within that document and is there concerning language and flagging it.
Back to you. Oh, you're going to pause?
I do want to ask one follow-up on Jackie's. You've said, I think, 2 times now, with Securely, it's mostly web filtering and then basic account monitoring. But I don't know what basic account monitoring means and how that's different from what Gaggle would be monitoring.
So it's very limited. So a lot of these software platforms that offer web filtering are trying to offer almost a full suite of services. So they give you limited. So even when we had GoGuardian, we had something similar where it will only do the keyword focused piece, but it doesn't do context analysis. It doesn't have any, in Securely's case, it doesn't do the artificial intelligence to actually evaluate that alert. It just alerts.
But is the alert only looking at keyword searches on the internet? It's not looking at their Google Docs. It's not looking at their emails. Or are we currently looking at all that stuff?
It will currently, Securely will see their internet search and a Google Doc, but it does not reliably see the email unless it meets certain criteria.
Okay.
Yeah, Carlene?
The pilot program is for 9th and 10th graders, and who decided that?
We met with Laura Tobias and John Downs to discuss. Initially, we had talked about 9 through 12, just again trying to get a handle on the volume of the alerts. They felt more comfortable isolating that to 1 or 2 individual grades. 9th and 10th grade were selected primarily because in 11th and 12th we support the BYOD program still as we're phasing that out. So we wanted to make sure we eliminated any unforeseen circumstances with personal devices being in that mix. So we're using 9 and 10 because they have district equipment.
I see.
They're required to have district equipment and use district equipment.
Yeah, and we're no longer going to permit personal devices.
Permit personal, yeah.
That's what BYOD meant.
Sorry,
Just,
yeah.
it's
Bring
okay.
Bring your own
Right.
device.
Does the monitoring happen round the clock?
Yes, so it is account-based, so it happens 24/7 if it is tied to an account. So if that account is used on a district device or not, it's tied to the account, not to the device.
So if I'm on my personal device but logged into my SCASD account, it's still subject to monitoring at that point.
Your personal device is not any action related to the account. So any email you send with your district account, any document on your district account, or any chat on your district account would be. But your browsing history on your personal device is not.
Okay.
And if you have Microsoft Office, not Microsoft 365, but Microsoft Office resident on your personal computer,
No.
that's not going to be searched. And if you have a personal Gmail account separate from your school account, that's not going to be searched.
Not going to be searched unless you were to send an email from your personal Gmail to your school account. So it's only things related to the school account.
Yeah, it's a good question because there'll be kids that use a family-based computer potentially. Not every member of a household has. And if their Chromebook's dead or something, they may use their parents' laptop or desktop. And it is important that, their personal things are not subject to or open to.
Could I just ask what the agreement, I assume students have like an agreement to access their district account so that they're aware that all of this, like they don't have the right to privacy on their district account and district device. So they go into it knowing that this is the case.
Yeah, it's within our acceptable use policies as well as the student handbook. So it calls out basically several situations related to students, but there is at least 2 sections I can think of that cites that they have no exception, no reasonable expectation of privacy.
And is this something that you sit students down in a homeroom and you tell them this, or is it just in a document that they just have to click to agree? Because I don't read the fine print on a lot of things. So I would be, if I were, in fact, we have a student question right now.
I'm an expert.
Yeah, go ahead, Madison.
Just to clarify, students are not directly told this. They would have to go through the student handbook to be aware of this. Other than that, if they don't go through the student handbook, students are not aware of this.
And so that would be a concern for me because students, I think, they're going to be expected to use district accounts. Now, I mean, from our perspective, it makes sense. For a student who's 12, 13 years old, I think expecting them to pick that out of a larger student handbook is maybe, so I think maybe if we're going to move forward with this kind of monitoring, it sounds like we already do some of that, it would be good at least early on in the year to make this part of, the onboarding process that we actually tell them this is what's happening and lay out how it works.
Okay. Jesse?
I mean, is this, if I were, to be given my SCASD account, would, it might tell me how to log into it, change my password, that kind of thing. Could that privacy information be included with that information? Say, look, you have no reasonable expectation of privacy on this account?
That's something we could look at doing, yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be wise to at least have that in the documentation.
Yeah, Peter, that's a good suggestion, Mike.
Yeah, like I'm thinking about this in a like Minority Report Black Mirror world, which we're practically in, and not to imply that any administrator in our district is a nefarious person, but like what safeguards do we have to prevent administrators or enforcers of policy from deciding that there is a set of like standards that they want to adopt that they can then use to punish or harass students? Like what is a family's recourse if they believe that their student is being spied upon or having, a set of standards applied to them because they like, say, politically unpopular speech and they're communicating with their peers about that, or that they're interested, they have a hobby that some people think is, I don't know, indecent or untoward or whatever, and other people do not. You see what I'm getting at? Like, what's to prevent that from becoming a reality?
Yeah, so we do have some safeguards in place. That's obviously always a concern with as you talk about this kind of monitoring or things like that. But we have policies in place as well as account restrictions. So any student investigation that would go to this level of looking at that information or utilizing that platform is going to go through a building administrator. I forget the policy number off the top of my head, but it also talks about staff as well and how those requests have to go through HR. So we're very stringent as far as who has access to that capability or that information. And we're also very cognizant and select resources that log when those actions take place so that if a family or an administrator had a concern, it would be very evident if it was being misused.
Yeah, I think that, right now I'm jumping into someone doing something bad, and I know there is a set of policies. We have practices, administrative procedures, there's culture, there's norms that also prevent people from doing that kind of abuse. But I think that, I really want us, meaning community, administrative community, board, sort of leadership community, to be really mindful of the importance of those things, because new technologies, inventive people with bad ideas will find ways to use them for bad purposes. So
Yeah, I think it's the 800. Those policies are in the 800s.
Yeah, they're all 815 series.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that when you're a parent and you're going to get insurance for your computer, you've got to do that click box.
Yep.
In that drop down, is there also a click box to kind of educate the parents about these kinds of policies,
Monitoring.
protocols, those kinds of things? So it's not just educating the students, I think, but also because you could use, accidentally click on link and it opens in SCASD, so is there any kind of acknowledgement to the parents, like in that portal where you get the insurance? Because I know that that's where a lot of parents access the computers.
Yeah, it's so again, it's within the student handbook currently, which the parents they go in and sign in there. So I think it maybe just needs to be called out more specifically within that. We can look at doing that.
But it's less invasive, it sounds, than like Go Guardian was.
Again, they're all very similar. They all accomplish the same general goals. So regardless, and they're very common across K-12s because of the federal requirements for us to do. So it's just historically, with our experience with those platforms, we have had or seen concerns with how they function compared to our district. So we're trying to be cognizant and evaluate this potential option as well.
Jack?
So,
Did you have something to add? Sorry.
I delineate a difference personally between doing a keyword search on anything and scraping for context. It's one thing to tell students, hey, the district can look at anything you produce and have stored on its server. I think it's a completely different thing to say, hey, any email you write is going to be evaluated for the context and keywords within it and could potentially be stopped from sending, could potentially be sent to someone outside the district to read, and there may be consequences to that. And so while I absolutely want to work on protecting the mental health of our children, I also think we need to work on protecting the privacy of our students, because I really think that even though I understand they have no right to privacy, like kind of under the contract we have set up in terms of the device, for me, this feels like a step too far into like required monitoring, especially, well, I'll just ask this question now. Is there any is there any way for me to opt my children out of this program in the district if it was implemented?
If it was implemented, not currently, it would be a pretty heavy lift for us to support that because of how, and again, so part of this was us learning how that platform works compared to the others, but they're all very similar. But for us to opt them out, you would effectively have to build almost a separate subnet section for those accounts to live.
Yeah,
So
and I can appreciate that, like given the way the system is structured.
So I reached out to a school district just to see how many alerts and what type of alerts they were getting that have been using it for some time. And he gave me an example that for the first 2 months of school, because I just called last week, they received 5 to 7 low-level alerts. So it's not, it's really targeting those things that are really something that we would definitely want to talk to our students about. Whether, if, for example, they were talking about suicide, if they were talking about bullying another kid, physically fighting, because of the context and what. And that information comes to the administrator, who then evaluates the need to call in the student. So they can do some research, to see if it is a part of an assignment or something, even before they call in the student to talk to the student to see if there's, and it's mostly not it's mostly helping the student understand, unless there's something like they're threatening a student or physical, or there's some kind of terroristic threat or something like that. And that's what they were receiving were low level. The high levels would be an automatic call to an administrator to handle, just like a safe to say kind of thing. So it was very infrequent of the amount of alerts that they were getting. But we that's what we wanted to see through our pilot, to see if that kind of information is correct, what kind of alerts that we're going to get before even going any further with this type of programming or software.
Aaron?
So I kind of had a question that was branching a little bit off of what Jackie was talking about. I notice it says here, combines automated scanning with trained safety professionals. So who are those people, and what are they trained in, and who are they trained by? Because it seems like now mostly what we're using is computers to kind of analyze things and to flag things for us. But if you're talking about adding people that we don't train or hire to look at all this information and decide if it's worth sending here, like, I guess I'm curious, who are those people? Because we don't have any control over that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so those individuals work for Gaggle, and they are trained and certified in things like student safety or mental health, and then that company employs them to evaluate the alert and determine, again, they're looking at the alert from the context of, if we're talking about securely right now, we probably average 7,000 alerts a month, just general keyword alerts. So they're looking at those to say, okay, this student is writing a paper, or this student is actively engaged or actively being bullied, based off of what they're seeing from that flag and the content tied to that. And then at that point, they're escalating it. So again, for us, I think we were trying to get a good feeling for, does the human addition to that process help weed out the false positives that we're seeing at such a large scale with both Securely and GoGuardian that we have had with just the base level keyword.
So how many of those trained safety professionals do they employ?
I don't know that off the top. I would
Or
have
like,
to ask them.
where are they employed, I guess, is another question, because it's sort of an assumption that there's going to be 5 people sitting in a room in an office in Chicago maybe that are doing this. But if they have 7,000 people, do we all know that they have the same training? Do they have their clearances to look at things that students have generated? If they receive, a picture that they're not supposed to see, like, that's my concern, is that if you're going to include human beings in it, we have really high standards in the social work field, for instance, for like what people can do and what people can see. And, I guess I would just be more curious about who those trained professionals are and what kind of background and training they actually have.
I don't have the in-depth details, but I can get those for you.
Okay.
Yeah. And Justin had shared a little bit, some questions. There was a little bit of
Yeah,
basic
it's there.
information in that document that he shared. Yes, Madison, thank you.
Yes, so I know you said you didn't have a lot of the information. I'm just wondering, if you were to hire these people, would you require them to get background checks and clearances in order to view these things?
So we don't, just for clarification, we don't directly hire them for
Okay.
the district. The company employs them. So the company employs them to conduct those services on behalf of the district. Based off of the information that I shared earlier, they are required to get their clearances and have those, some extent of those. But because they're not in direct contact with students on a daily basis, there are probably some that they're not required to have.
Okay. Is there a way for us to communicate to the place that is hiring them to make sure that we have these security things in place? Because these are very, obviously very sensitive things towards children. These are involving minors directly, and again, a lot of sensitive information. So is there a way for them to make any sort of public statement or reassurance that these clearances will be upheld for all employees?
Sure. Yeah, that's a good question, and I can get that.
Okay, thank you.
I just have one additional question about that. Sorry, I'm being
That's
a little
okay.
picky. When that information is sent to them, is it de-identified, or is the student's name potentially tied to it?
I would not, I don't want to misspeak on that, so let me clarify that, because it's important for us to understand who the student is, but I am unsure if during the evaluation
During the
process.
flagging
Right, if
process,
it's
it
just numbered.
just says, hey, this word popped up, you should think about it.
Correct. So let me clarify that and get back to you.
Do you have a question?
Well, yeah, I
Okay.
just want to know what they end up doing, and I'm sorry if I missed it. There's a lot of material that we could have looked at. What happens with all this data or metadata afterward? I would definitely want to know
Yeah,
about that, because that is very concerning.
Yeah, we would, so if obviously we have not yet, if we were to engage with services with that company, we would have a pretty stringent data sharing agreement, from what I understand, that would have out guidelines for how long they're going to store that data, what data they store, and then what they would do with it when we were to terminate our contract if we were in the future. So if we were to progress with that, I would expect that we would have more information around what that would look like.
Yeah, and I guess I would want to, I'd want to know how long, just like our video, like we only carry our videos for 30 days in certain instances. If we were contracted with them for 5 years, I don't know that I would want them saving and I'm sure they don't want to either. That's a lot of capacity, but yeah, a breakdown of those parts would be interesting and important, I think. Yeah, Madison B.
I was wondering if Gaggle has any measures for image screening, because I can think of a few instances where inappropriate images could be sent over Gmail.
It does cover image screening. As far as how it's doing that, it's using some similar processes to a keyword search, but just within an image. So it's looking for things like nudity or things like that. And then if it does detect those, that actually gets into a larger concept or requirement within Gaggle. If it's related to students or minors, they're actually federally required to report that as well. So that is something that they're required to do separately, which speaks to their certifications and training above and beyond what the district does itself. Thank you.
All right, so the one thing, and I know Justin knows this, and I just, I think to make it clear to our community and public, to the point of, as we're talking about we tell people, but do they know? If we do this as a pilot and if it were expanded and we stuck to the current set of offerings of the suite that you've described, things that would not be covered, children's personal cell phone, messages sent through their personal cell phone through our network. Messages from their personal cell phone through cellular service in our buildings. Anything on their personal device at home, as long as they're independent of their SCASD login. All those web searches, any social media use that they do on their personal devices. And I'm not outlining that to say that this doesn't have potential value, or I think it's very important that parents understand and that we understand where students spend the majority of their time, where they're more likely to be operating. I can't get my children to open email ever. And I know teachers have them use it, and I'm not saying that there aren't real incidences that have potentially been caught and crises averted, but I think it's really important for the community to understand that, if we were to scale out the number of incidences and where they occur, they're more likely to be in other places. And so I think that's the question we have to ask, that when we're going beyond our regulated, required, legally required extent, what is the balance between students' privacy, the time intensiveness of what our staff have to do in terms of what devices we use? That's certainly really important. And also the cost. We're not a small district. My understanding is this could be as much as a third of a employee position or something in that realm. And what's, I understand Dr. Erbracher recommended, and she's an expert, and so I take that very, very seriously. But there's just so many gears here as to where do we put our resources and where is the most likely place to find those problems. And so that's why I want it to be really clear to parents about the limitations we would have if we made this kind of investment in terms of expanding it in long term. Yeah, Jackie.
Yeah, so I just want to thank you both, because I appreciate understanding where you were coming from with the we have too many flags and we don't have a reasonable way to deal with them, and so I totally understand that is an issue that we're trying to deal with. I'd also just like to kind of put forth an argument that I feel that if the continuous monitoring of students' email in real time, and of their documentation, their schoolwork, whatever they're writing for a class in real time, could potentially work to get in the way of peer-to-peer and peer-to-teacher relationships. And that there are situations where I, as a professor, will say to students, I'm not going to show anyone else this submission. And my students are free to write whatever they want. And does Penn State have the ability to go read their submissions? Yeah. But those submissions are also not being scanned for context. And so I would not like to set up a system that would erode that relationship that gets built in school, because I think the human relationships that we build in this district are the best thing for our students in order of protecting them and helping them learn and grow in a meaningful way. And so that's, and not to say that is what would happen, but that is my biggest concern with a system like this, because I don't want it to impede human relationships. I want technology that fosters human relationships instead. And so I just wanted to put that forward as something for board members to think about and tell me I'm wrong about if you feel that way. I'd be happy to have a robust conversation about that, but just wanted to put that out there. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate the conversation tonight. I hope it's received in the spirit it's intended, in that, as to Peter's point earlier about the explosion of technology, it's exploding so fast that it's very difficult to keep up. You're an expert in the field, and I'm sure it's hard for you to keep up at times. And so I appreciate every board member that's taking very seriously their responsibilities to students, parents, their privacy, their safety, the security of our data, and what we do with it, and being responsible. So yeah, I just wanted to add that. Yeah, Debbie.
I really appreciate all the information shared. It's been very helpful. I would say one thing that struck me tonight was that I guess I didn't fully understand what Securely is already doing. And if we could have the next time something laid out in paper that we could read ahead of time that really compares what is Securely currently doing and currently monitoring, and what would this new program monitor that's new in addition, I think that would be helpful, because looking at the information, my impression was that Gaggle would be much more invasive. And to Jackie's point about the constant real-time monitoring. But what I think I'm hearing tonight is that we're already doing some of that, and I guess I didn't realize that was happening. So I think that would be helpful. And just echoing as well what Amy said, the limitations with the current system, with the potential new system, whatever they are, like parents really understanding that this can only do so much, and it doesn't absolve the parents of their own responsibility to monitor their kids' digital use for their own safety. And kids are sophisticated, and they get around things that we didn't think they could get around, but
At
they
younger
do.
and younger ages.
At younger and younger ages, and there's already ways for them to use a different device, use a different account to get around this monitoring. And we as parents need to be really cognizant of that and just be paying attention to our kids. Thanks.
Yes, and I just want to say that this is just one tool to help us deal with the mental health concerns, bullying concerns that we have been talking about for the last year or so. And being in that it's one tool, I just want to, it's amazing what kids will do as far as putting an email. And to have that information would really help us, because some of the first things that a parent does, or a school district, or Laura, or whoever principal, is pull their emails, or they're asked for their emails. And if we have Securely that has keywords, but there's just so many alerts that we're not able to deal with, and then we have another tool that will synthesize that information and make it usable for us, knowing that there are so many alerts, maybe that is the tool that we need to address some of the concerns that we're seeing in our school district. Not to say that students don't have privacy, they do. But they don't have privacy to bully or to say things that will harm themselves or do anything else. And I think we just need to take that into consideration, that we're not using this information to dig in kids' lives to find out what they're doing on a day-to-day thing, but when they are harming themselves or harming others in a verbal or any other kind of way, I think that it's important.
Yeah, and I agree, and I don't think anyone is implying us as the district would do those. This is about trust in a corporation, and that is not without risk. And especially, we know from our learning about our student information system, often our options are very limited as to who provides services for K-12 schools. And it's not always, well, this one seems kind of lucrative, but it's not always super lucrative. And so that doesn't provide the competition and the diversity and the, that raises the quality of a product all the time, or the trustworthiness. So I honor everything that you said, but I also, I do agree these are really important to have these robust conversations. And I think were we to move forward with this in a more, if the pilot comes back and there's additional work we want to do, or we would work with them for a longer period of time, I think being sure to revisit this kind of rigorous conversation on a regular basis would be, internally at least, would be really important about that trust issue, because between, potential biases in AI and other things, like I appreciated that somewhere I read that they try to train the human staff about the newest lingo and terms and things, that slang that students are using, because I thought of that immediately. That's a really important skill that they have to have. If they don't know what the kid is trying to say, that it's not as helpful. So, yeah. All right, any last things for the good of the order on technology? Okay. Thanks, Justin, for taking our rapid fire questions and details. I appreciate the reassurance.
No more
with your knee.
No more football with your kid.
Oh.
No more football. Off limits.
Was he goofing around and, oh, man. Okay. So that was an information item. We're finished with that. Michelle Simpson's going to join us to run down several policy updates from the Policy Development Committee for our review. These were some pretty straightforward ones, it seems, I think.
Good evening. Yes, we have a hefty list here coming forward from August PDC meeting. So we're going to start with policy 004.1, which is student representatives to the board, which we have here tonight. The changes in this policy focus now on having 2 representatives from one from each of the high schools, one from Delta and one from the from State High. And we are keeping the consistency in the 2 schools that the students in the sophomore or junior classes are the ones who may apply, and then serve as the representatives during their junior and senior year. So welcome. Do we have any comments or questions on policy 004.1?
No.
Just make sure you get your homework done. It says be in good academic standings. Sorry, I'm just a parent. I have to do it.
And always, if you have to cut out early, just slip right out. You don't have to make an excuse.
No quitting.
On the rare times we're running super late. Go ahead.
Good. Okay, welcome. Next policy, 251, students experiencing homelessness, foster care, and other educational instability. This is a new policy. PSBA's recommendation that we combine our current 251, which was our homeless students, and 255, our educational stability for children in foster care, into one comprehensive policy, focusing on various circumstances of educational instability. It's important to note in this new policy, the required by Act 1, the course credit and graduation is going to be mandatory information within the policy.
Okay, sounds good.
Comments? Okay. Moving right along, policy 615, payroll deductions. This is a revision policy. This policy was last revised in 2000, so it's pretty old. PSBA is recommending that we not include the original listing of voluntary deductions, but we replace it with a general statement about deductions. Also, the original policy language outlining tax-sheltered annuities and service provider agreements was highly procedural and not recommended to be included in the revised policy. So that's the revisions for policy 615.
Okay, no concerns? All right.
Good, okay. Policy 618 is a student activities fund, and this is a new policy. PSBA is recommending this new policy replace the current 618, which is special purpose funds, as topics in that original policy are covered in a variety of other policies in the 600 series. Additionally, the student activities funds should not be intermingled with special purpose funds, as the auditors want to see the student activities funds as their own issue.
All right.
Good?
Yep.
Okay, policy 620. This is also a revision. The amounts classifications have been heavily revised to clarify what these amounts are used for without relying on examples in the policy. And the language regarding rebalancing is included in the guidelines section. So that's policy 620.
Yep. pretty highly based in law, so.
Comments? Okay, great. Policy 800, records management, is a new, PSBA recommended this policy, which is written in accordance with the school code. It has taken a lot of input to get this policy up and ready for presenting. It establishes co-coordinators for the district and the development of a records management plan that will include a retention schedule. It is very important to note that this policy is applicable to non-student records management. So this is separate from student records.
That's good clarification.
And the retention guidelines have been started and have been worked on, and they include electronic documents as well as paper. No questions? Great. Okay, policy 810, transportation. These are revision. This is a revision. The original policy did not contain a lot of information, and this is a heavily revised policy that's been made to comply with appropriate school code and federal laws. The language specifically related to employment and background checks is addressed in another sub-policy, so that was removed from here. And language regarding transportation for non-public school students, charter students, students in foster care, and unhoused students has been added in accordance with laws and regulations to this policy.
Okay. No questions?
Good?
Yep.
Okay, policy 810.1, school bus drivers and school commercial motor vehicle drivers. This is a new policy. It replaces the existing 810.1, which was entitled Transportation Personnel Drug and Alcohol Testing. PSBA recommends they retire that as a topic, and it is addressed within this new policy. This new policy is a required policy in the district. If the district hires bus drivers, commercial motor vehicle drivers, or a combination of such, which we do.
Yep, sure do. All right.
Good. Okay. Policy 810.2 is also a new policy, school vehicle drivers. This policy has been developed to apply only to non-CDL drivers who operate a school vehicle and address safety and operation components.
So kind of like our like vans and stuff.
Excellent. Okay, policy 818, contracted services personnel. There are revisions to this policy. The original policy lacks specific topics that are heavily recommended by PSBA for inclusion in the policy. So there's a lot of revisions to this policy and expanded upon incorporating language written in accordance with school code, child protective services laws, and other relevant laws and regulations. The confidentiality section has been added in consideration of other policies related to student records.
Okay. Yeah, good.
Okay, policy 833 is a revised policy. PSBA does not maintain a policy on this topic, and so the policy committee and the district sourced out and reviewed other districts who had policies to benchmark content and focus areas. We also looked at other sources, such as the 2008 Board Resolution on Sustainability. We received suggestions from Peter Buck, which allowed us to compare his suggestions with our working draft and incorporate our revised various elements. While using the current policy as a foundation, the enumerated sections within the redraft are, for all purposes, rewritten.
Yeah.
Yes, Peter.
Go for it.
So I spent well, first of all, thank you, Anne, for meeting with me and working on this. I really appreciate all the work that has gone into it, and I think that this is a really great step forward. And everything that I'm about to say is meant to be totally as constructive and also to make the policy more efficient in reading as well. I think that, and I'm happy to follow up with whatever pieces of this, the board or you want to do. So I guess there are a few things in the commitment section I would like to comment on. and then some in the strategies and purposes. So in the commitment, in number 1, embrace sustainability practices to enhance student learning, including so it says pedagogy. In other places, we have pedagogy and we have curriculum. And I just think that we should be consistent because pedagogy is like one thing and curriculum is another. And if we're going to have them like that, then they should just be consistent unless there's a specific reason for them to be differentiated. And I don't think that there necessarily is. So I just think that consistency would be good. In number 2, so it says use resources, and very often when we talk, even though the context of the policy is pretty clear, often when we talk about resources, we're talking about money. And I think that what we're talking about here are things like material and natural and energy resources. That's the way it works. But so I think that we should probably be more explicit about those things. In number 3, it says reduce waste and outputs that are detrimental to the environment. I think that's great. We have upstream wastes and we have downstream wastes. Some are handled by procurement. We get into some of those a little bit later. I put these out as comments. Do we want to say upstream and downstream waste? And then detrimental to human health and the environment, because I think that a number of us have articulated reasons for wanting to support some quote unquote environmental sustainability reasons because of the good that it does for human health, especially for children. And then I think under number 4, ensure that strategic and comprehensive planning, including associated decision-making recommendations, I would say integrates environmental, economic, and societal implications. Because it's not that we want to, I think it's really important that still remain in the decision-making in this policy, the economic. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Then later on, I think that we can do some work, and as I said, happy to assist with this, to put 3 and 4 together, because they're about pretty common things.
Are you talking about?
Yeah. So I'm sorry, strategies and processes.
Okay.
Number 3
okay.
and number 4
Okay.
are really related. Leadership in energy and environmental design is lead under the U.S. Green Building Council, which Mike Fisher talks to us about and others have talked about. And so we have a benchmark there for silver, and those are intended to be high performance buildings, and so they kind of go together. So there just might be some efficiency in the language. And then I wonder if the board wants to do anything to rank. So it says under number 4, ensure buildings are, and there's a set of things that follow that. If the board wants to do anything to rank those, right? Like indoor health is the thing that most directly, like, indoor air quality and daylighting most directly impacts students and employees. Their sense of well-being in a building is going to be really related to those. Do we want to make that?
Well, can I interrupt you for a second?
Yeah.
So it's been my goal for a couple of years to actually propose and work on an indoor air quality independent policy that also includes a fragrance-free approach. And having stepped into this role, I've lost my time bandwidth to get on that. So I would like to maybe do that or suggest that and work on that before I exit the board. So that might be best covered there. And part of the reason, it's not just when we went through COVID, we made a lot of changes regarding our air turnover and air quality. We've had discussions with the Park Forest building and with, struggling with leaks. We had a mold issue at Mount Nittany Middle School several years ago and at Coral Street. And so I know Mike already has standards and those things that he uses, but it seems worthwhile to put that in a singular place. And it would also give us the opportunity to talk about people with chemical sensitivities and their risks of exposure when we use certain things like essential oil diffusers and things like that that are risky for certain individuals but are often frequently used in some of our buildings and classrooms. So anyway, that was a little tangential diatribe, but I think air quality actually is so important, it deserves its own policy.
Question? Yeah, it looks like we're probably going to bring this back in policy so we could
Sounds
discuss
like-
that because there's a few things that, like for number 2, use resources, because this is sustainability. I'm not sure that I would think that it's economic, and especially with the rest of the information. But we could discuss that and we could go over that. So I think that we should definitely bring this back to policy.
Yeah. And I can, if you want me to submit all the,
Yeah.
my color-coded thing.
Why don't you
That'd be
submit
great.
those and
That'd be
then we'll
great.
bring it.
Yeah, I don't intend to occupy, I will not occupy any more time. I will submit this as,
I would suggest sharing it with the full board though too, because if there are board members that aren't on the policy development committee and don't have the freedom to visit, they can at least preview and make sure whether they want to provide feedback on something you suggest in case they're not there. So if you could share it with the full board, that would be, I think, the most efficient.
and I wish I would have been able to come to that policy committee. I could not come to that policy committee. And I've been traveling, so yeah.
We don't
Sounds
have a
good.
timeline deadline on this, other than before you leave,
Yes.
probably. So I think that we can manage to work through it a little bit more.
Okay.
All right,
And
that sounds like a
I
plan.
was just gonna.
Say the same. Yeah.
Thank you.
Especially when we get into wordsmithing, sometimes it's easier to do that a little away from the table, so.
So the next PDC meeting is October 23rd.
Excellent.
It's a Thursday.
It's a Thursday,
Can you-
correct.
Can you say that out loud again?
Yes,
Just-
October 23rd, 10:30 a.m., Thursday.
Okay. I just had one quick question / comment about, if I can just go back real quick to the 810s.
8:10?
Yeah, well, 810.1, all the transportation ones.
Okay.
I just kind of skimmed through those, and I'm wondering if we want to consider including anything about the content that they put on the radio, like, or that they listen to, or because I've heard from a number of different families and students, just isolated incidents about, what's on the radio, elementary students hearing news that maybe their parents don't want them to be exposed to, music, that maybe they shouldn't be listening to, at least in that context. So I didn't see anything in there, so I don't know if that has been part of the discussion.
I don't recall them discussing the radio, no.
Would that be more, is that the policy or?
Regs.
That's more
Administrative
procedure,
regs.
administrative
Yeah,
regulations.
me too.
That we can talk to Van about
Me
to
too.
make sure that that's occurring.
Yeah,
I think as long as it's somewhere, I just.
Right.
Yeah.
okay, great, thank you.
And, I'll just say, because I know,
Randy?
we just got a new PSBA system that's helping us with our administrative regulations. And so, our wonderful policy experts in the administration will be working on that, so.
Yeah. Yep.
Randy, can you get a hold of Van about that?
Great. All right, so we'll run that down, and other than policy 833, the rest of these will come back at a future meeting for action.
That's correct, right.
Okay?
Great,
Thank you, Michelle.
Thanks.
That was a lot to run through. You can go get a drink of water now. So next on the agenda is an opportunity for board members to share updates on their committee initiatives. I know some committees may or may not have met, so you can just say pass if you haven't. Jackie and Ann, anything else besides what you've already shared from Central Intermediate Unit being strapped financially due to our lack of state budget?
No, the building is continuing. I got to help pick out carpets, which was really exciting.
Nice.
For our new home. And hopefully we'll have money to do that. Okay.
You didn't pick like a boring brown or anything, something nice. Okay, good. All right. It's exciting that they're getting their building built. SCASD Education Liaison Report. Deb, have you anything to share?
Sure. At our last meeting on September 3rd, we discussed some approval of funding requests. I think one of them actually was the STEM.
Oh, the EITC funds for the STEM Inventor Kits?
I was like, the STEMfinity Inventor Kits, that's it. That's what I was looking for. So I think that was one request that was approved by the foundation. There was also some funding approved for mental health requests. Stephanie Beaver gave a presentation about the mental health, some anticipated mental health needs for the district for the year, and the foundation will help fund some of those. The wrestling room, which we talked about tonight and approved. The main gym scoreboard, which we approved the donation request, and we talked about the foundation budget for the 25-26 school year.
Okay, great. CTC Local Advisory Committee, nothing recently?
Well, we did have one meeting. I don't know that we actually talked about it. Just back on the 4th, we were talking about budgeting and such. I just wanted to mention there is some openings on the LACs, the local advisory committees for, I think, for things like engineering. They had a few members who were potentially leaving or not interested in continuing. So I know Dr. Morden was interested in potentially finding some other replacements. I thought about reaching out to some of the people who had applied for the open seat might fit in that space. But if anybody listening has that kind of background and is interested, I know they're looking for.
Yeah, the one gentleman who was an engineer actually joined our CAC for tech, and I know for facilities. I think the other one, I think he joined too, was also tech.
Okay.
His name escapes me at the moment, but
Yeah.
we have his name, so can certainly get that to you. Although Randy may also be able to reach out to ELA or Stahl Schaefer, who we've worked with in the past, and just let them know that we're
And actually,
looking for someone.
Towards the end of October, I think it's October 22nd, they have at the high school, they have a big meeting for all the LACs and OACs. So if we find somebody who is interested in joining, that might be a good first opportunity because you get to meet everybody in person. They feed us. The high school students make food for. This is why I'm really on it. But that's a great meeting. So I would encourage anybody who's interested to consider reaching out to Ben about that.
Okay, great. All right, so now we're going to move on to Citizens Advisory Committees. Athletics, haven't had a meeting because we're quarterly. Facilities, I don't believe we've had a meeting, but we are going to have one soon where I don't have the date in front of me, but we will be looking at the results of the RFP for project management for the Park Forest Middle School project. So that will be in person. Usually it's often a remote meeting, but because of that, we will be in person, just as a reminder. Finance, Deb and Jackie,
We did have a meeting.
Oh, okay.
So we talked about impact of federal state budget on SCASD as well as Mountain NE progress, PFMS progress, MNE progress, PFMS progress, and also the funding plan for those two projects.
Great.
And also we talked about the district-wide facilities master plan because facilities and finance tend to go together.
Yeah, if we want to fix things, we need some dollars, right? Okay. School health and safety, no, not yet. Okay. Technology.
We have a meeting upcoming on October 21st. That's it.
All right. So that concludes our agenda for this evening. Looking ahead to future meetings, we have October 13th. That'll be a committee of the whole regular board meeting at 7 p.m. here in the boardroom. October 23rd, we have Policy Development Committee, as previously mentioned. That's at 10:30 on a Thursday. October 27th will be a regular board meeting here in the boardroom at 7 p.m. And with that, I'd like to adjourn the meeting of the State College Area School District Board of Directors. Have a good evening, everyone.
You're watching CNET, Center County's Government and Educational Access Network.
Are you looking for an affordable home located near school, work, and fun? Are you downsizing or leaving the area and looking to sell your home? Reach out to the State College Community Land Trust today. We have been buying, rehabbing, and selling permanently affordable homes in the State College Borough since 1996. We keep land in trust and homes within reach always, so that income-qualified individuals, families, and their pets can find their forever homes.